It means that whatever can happen will happen.
If Christopher Nolan were open to it, there's little doubt that Hollywood would jump at the chance to make Interstellar 2, because the first film was not just a critical success, but also a major box office hit. It earned around $678 million worldwide, and even picked up an Academy Award for Best Visual Effects, which shows how strongly it connected with audiences and industry voters. Because of that kind of performance, a sequel would almost certainly be profitable. Studios like Projects that already have a loyal fan base, and Interstellar definitely has one. But even though the financial side looks promising, the real question has always been whether Nolan himself wants to return to that universe, since he usually prefers original stories over sequels. The interest in a second movie keeps coming up again and again, partly because Nolan's reputation has only grown stronger over time. With Oppenheimer turning into a huge win in multiple ways, his name alone draws attention and ticket sales. So from the studio perspective, getting him back for Interstellar 2 would be the ideal scenario. Reports and insider chatter have suggested that a sequel has at least been discussed behind the scenes, and that Warner Brothers would strongly prefer Nolan to direct it himself. They would even want him to write it too, because his creative control is a big part of why the first movie worked so well. But even if he didn't want to direct, there's a sense the studio might still move forward if he agreed to help shape the script, because his involvement at any level adds credibility. Before getting too deep into what Interstellar 2 could be, it helps to remember why the original film left such a lasting impression. The 2014 movie, written by Christopher and Jonathan Nolan, takes place in a future where Earth is slowly becoming unlivable. Crops are failing, dust storms are everywhere, and survival is getting harder each year. Because humanity is running out of time, a space mission is launched to search for a new habitable world. Matthew McConaughey plays Cooper, and Anne Hathaway plays Brand, and together with a small team, they travel through a wormhole near Saturn. They carry thousands of frozen human embryos, so even if Earth can't be saved, human life might continue somewhere else. That setup alone gives the story huge stakes, and it also creates emotional weight because Cooper leaves his children behind. Things get complicated quickly, because this is a Nolan story and nothing ever moves in a straight line. Time dilation, gravity effects, and extreme conditions on distant planets start changing how time passes for the crew compared to people back home. Missions go wrong, assumptions fail, and sacrifices are made. Although the film is packed with scientific ideas, it's also very personal, because it keeps returning to the bond between Cooper and his daughter Murph. By the end, the movie delivers a strong emotional payoff, even though some viewers felt it was softer in tone than Nolan's darker thrillers. Because the ending shows Cooper heading back into space to find Brand on a distant planet, it naturally leaves room for a continuation, and that's one of the biggest reasons talk about Interstellar 2 refuses to fade. If a sequel does move forward, most fans agree that Christopher Nolan would need to be closely involved, because his storytelling style is such a defining part of the experience. He has written or co-written nearly all of his films, so it would be surprising if he didn't handle the script again. His brother Jonathan Nolan would also likely play a role, since they've collaborated on several major projects. But although that creative partnership is a strength, it also makes scheduling and interest more complicated. Nolan is known for avoiding sequels unless he feels there is a truly strong reason, and outside of the Dark Knight trilogy, he hasn't really built franchises. That makes Interstellar 2 feel possible, but not automatic. Even though Nolan hasn't publicly committed to the idea, he also hasn't completely shut it down. He tends to keep future plans private, so silence doesn't necessarily mean no. He's been asked about a sequel many times over the years, and while he hasn't confirmed anything, he hasn't dismissed the possibility either. Because of that, supporters of a second film see an opening. They argue that the world of Interstellar is big enough to support another story, and that the first movie's ending is more of a launch point than a full stop. Casting is another area where a sequel could go in several directions. It wouldn't absolutely require the entire original cast, but bringing some of them back would strengthen the connection. Matthew McConaughey has indicated that he'd considered returning, although he would want to see the script and the creative plan first. That makes sense because actors at that level choose projects carefully. Anne Hathaway could also return, especially since her character Brand is last seen starting a colony effort alone on a habitable planet. Matt Damon's character from the earlier failed mission could appear in a prequel-style storyline or flashbacks if the narrative explored earlier events. There's also the option of shifting focus to the next generation, including Cooper's son or future scientists influenced by Murph's discoveries. One of the most talked about sequel ideas centers on Brand's planet, because that's where the first film leaves unfinished business. A second movie could follow the attempt to build a new civilization from scratch. That would naturally include problems like limited resources, isolation, and the ethical questions around using frozen embryos to grow a population. Because Nolan likes stories that mix big concepts with personal dilemmas, this setting would give him both. Cooper traveling across space to reunite with Brand could be the emotional backbone, while the survival of the colony becomes the larger plot. Another possible angle involves Murph's legacy. Even though she dies at an old age in the first film, her scientific breakthroughs save humanity and allow large space habitats to exist. A sequel could reveal that her research left behind unanswered questions or hidden data that becomes important later. So even though she wouldn't appear directly, her influence could still shape events. That kind of narrative thread fits well with Nolan's habit of connecting timelines and ideas across generations. There's also room for a brand new cosmic threat or scientific puzzle, because raising the stakes is almost required for a follow-up. A strange black hole behavior, a dangerous gravitational anomaly, or unexpected side effects from time manipulation could drive the conflict. Nolan often revisits themes of time and reality, so Interstellar 2 could push those ideas even further. Concepts like multiverses, deeper quantum effects, or advanced AI habitats could enter the picture, especially since technology in visual effects has advanced a lot since 2014. Because the first movie was praised for blending real physics with cinematic spectacle, a sequel would likely aim for the same grounded but mind-bending approach. Visually, a second film could be even more ambitious. Space imagery, wormholes, and alien landscapes could be rendered with newer tools and higher fidelity, which matters because Interstellar was known for taking its science visuals seriously. The involvement of real scientific advisors, like physicist Kip Thorne on the first film, would probably continue. That commitment to realism is a big part of why the original felt different from more fantasy-leaning space adventures. So if Interstellar 2 happens, audiences would expect both emotional storytelling and carefully built science ideas working together. Right now, there's no official announcement confirming that Interstellar 2 is moving forward. But because of the box office strength, the awards recognition, Nolan's continued popularity, and steady fan interest, the possibility stays on the table. If the right story idea clicks and Nolan feels creatively pulled back into that universe, a second movie could absolutely take shape. And because so many narrative paths are available, from colony building to time mysteries to legacy storylines, there's more than enough material to support it. So while nothing's locked in, the chances of Interstellar 2 happening are strong enough that the conversation isn't going away anytime soon. And that's that for today's video. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.